probably the most common message I've gotten is, wow, don't you think this is too soon to be getting engaged? Like, you guys just started dating.
Do you want to have kids?
Yes.
How many?
7.
So
what was your first impression?
Dang, girl.
And you continue to do that, even though now there's a ring. I'm like, are you crying? Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole. This is my fiance, Chandler. We just got engaged on the 4th of July and we're so excited. If you missed it, we filmed a full story time talking all about the proposal and the engagement last week. And so if you didn't see that one, go back and watch that video and catch yourself up to speed before you watch this week's video. Today, we're doing a Q&A. I put a little question box up on my Instagram story and asked you guys to give us some good questions, and I'm hoping y'all came through. This is actually the first Q&A that we've ever done on YouTube. I'm kind of scared. But you guys, we are so excited. We're in the middle of wedding planning and it's so much fun. We're gonna be posting a bunch of different updates on every single platform. And so subscribe to us on here, but also make sure you're following us on Instagram and TikTok because we're gonna be posting different things on every platform. And we want to bring you along the journey with us so that you don't miss a thing. I haven't even looked at the questions yet. I'm kind of nervous. Is Chandler moving to you? Yes. For those of you that don't know, I live in Nashville. Chandler actually lives in Huntsville, Alabama, which is like an hour and a half south of Nashville. And so yeah, he's going to sell his house and he'll be moving up here after we get married. How do you feel about that, being a Nashville resident?
I've met a lot of your community. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun up here. There's a lot of exciting things to do. Starting a new journey.
Yeah. Probably the most asked question. We should just tell everybody, how did you meet? We actually met on a dating app. We met on Hinge, which I still laugh about because I told myself I would never meet my husband off of a dating app. Not that there's anything wrong with meeting someone on a dating app. I just had never had luck with it and I didn't like it that much. So whenever I matched with Chandler, I was actually going on the app to delete it. So it's funny that I saw it because I was almost just gonna delete the whole thing.
And I told myself never to use dating apps, and I had downloaded it literally like 4 days before I reached out to her.
Wild. That's so wild. He had the app for 4 days before he matched with me. And didn't your friends tell you to like put your mile radius on 100 so you got more of the girls in Nashville? Because he doesn't live here. Which that's such a God thing. Like, I literally would not have popped up on his account had you not done that. You started texting me the week I left town. I was out of town for 2 weeks. You called me the first day, and then he called me every single day for like 2 weeks. And a couple days in, you were like, well, whenever you get back to Nashville, I want to take you on a date. And I was like, well, you're gonna have to wait because I'm gone for 2 weeks. I'm headed to Orlando after this. And his family lives near Jacksonville, Florida, which is 3-ish hours away from Orlando. And he's like, well, I'll be there for Thanksgiving. Why don't we just meet in Orlando? And I was like, what? I didn't know him well, aside from our phone calls. And I'm also really busy at my work in Orlando, and so I didn't really know what to say, but the only time I knew that I would have available was after my red eye. When I landed at like 8 a.m. and I didn't have to work until 1 p.m. I was like, this is my only availability, thinking it's not convenient for him. He won't do anything about it. And he goes, sounds great, I'll pick you up at the airport. This
so
man
I got up
literally,
at 4:30 and drove 3 hours to pick you up at the airport, and we had breakfast.
Showed up at 8 a.m. at the MCO airport. We had breakfast and went to Disney Springs for our first date. It was so fun. Has Chandler seen a video of you competing at Miss Washington and Miss America? Ooh, I don't think you have.
You show me snippet.
This is at Miss America. He's turning so red. Why are you
How did I
turning
know
red?
you were gonna show me something like that?
Maybe our next video should be watching my old dance competition and pageant videos and getting Chandler's reaction. That would be so funny. Comment down below if you want to see that. Everybody wants to know when the wedding is. Listen, we do have a date. We're not gonna tell you just yet, but there is a date and we're very excited about it. So stay tuned. Okay, this is a good one. How did you know that he or she was the one? There's actually a bunch of these questions in here. That's an interesting question because I come from the perspective that I don't believe God has one person for you. I believe that there are a lot of really wonderful options on this earth, and because we have free will, God gives us the ability to choose. Now, I do believe God has a plan and a purpose for your life, and he knows who that person's going to be, but at the end of the day, we choose who we're going to love. And so with Chandler, I think one thing that helped me have confidence in that decision is that I had peace. I had peace from day one about dating him. There There was never any amount of anxiety or doubt or wondering. And I think that had a lot to do with your pursuit of me. Like, you were so intentional and clear in your pursuit of me from the very beginning that gave me peace. And every time I prayed about it, I was like, Lord, if this is not right for me, if he is not the one, show me. Make that abundantly clear. Close the door and show me those things that are the deal breakers, so to speak. And that just never happened. So for me, I knew he was the one, partly because I had peace and I prayed through it, but also because I chose him. I chose what I had peace with, if that makes sense.
I went through like a year of healing and kind of figuring out myself and how to date with intentionality. And I think that led to a lot of the pursuit, and especially with long distance, it seemed like it could have been a little weird from the beginning because I'd never really done that. It was very easy, and we like spend the weekends together, and it just made us want to be around each other more and kind of itch for the weekend to get through. When I was around you, everything felt very comfortable and easy, and you're super goofy, and there's always like a sense of adventure, and it just really heightened my spirit. And I could tell that I could tell from the get-go there was something really special about you, and I wanted to dig into that and figure that out.
I will say, like, I was very skeptical about it from the beginning because I knew he didn't live in Nashville. I was like, I'm not interested in doing long distance. I personally just wasn't up for that because in my experience it had never worked before. Really the only reason it worked in the beginning and has worked is because of Chandler's intentionality. He pursued me so well from the beginning. He told me from the get-go, he's like, you never have to come to Huntsville if you don't want to. He's like, I will come to Nashville every single time if that's what it takes. I'm gonna put in the effort and I'm going to pursue you. And because of how great you are at communicating, the long distance doesn't feel like long distance because figured out how to communicate well.
I expected with her job and busyness that we wouldn't be able to talk much, and being long distance. From the beginning, like when you got back home after we had gone on our first couple of dates, I could tell that you were putting in effort, which made me feel better about things.
Yeah,
and we kind of just set time aside when we were gonna talk about our days and spend time with one another.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with dating that's super important is like the guy needs to pursue 100%, but you both have to put in effort. And if you're not both putting in effort and you're not being intentional about communicating on a daily basis, it's really hard to make that work. And probably the most common message I've gotten is, wow, don't you think this is too soon to be getting engaged? Like, you guys just started dating. And yeah, while 8 months is not that long, when you know, for one, but for two, we've talked to each other every single day for the last 8 months. It hasn't been like I go a week without hearing from him or we go on a date once a month. It's like every single weekend we have seen each other and gone on a date. We talk almost every single day. And so when you're that intentional about doing life together, everything kind of feels like a lot longer, if that makes sense. It's not like situations I've had in the past where I start talking to somebody and then I don't hear from them for 3 weeks. Like, we're very serious in the beginning about asking the hard questions and having conversations where we weeded out all of the important deal breaker, non-negotiable things and realized that this was a great fit and that we loved spending time with each other and just quickly became best friends. What is your favorite memory with each other? I love that one. That's also so hard because I feel like we've done a lot of really exciting things.
I think my favorite memory was, forget how early on it was with dating, but Nicole surprised me at my house on a work day.
This is the first time I'd ever been in Huntsville, hadn't it? Wasn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, yeah.
I woke up at like 7. Literally when I woke up at 7, my doorbell rang within 30 seconds. And I was like just waking up. So I thought I heard the doorbell, but I couldn't tell. So I kind of just laid there. And then the doorbell rang again and I was like, this is weird. Who's ringing my doorbell at 7?
Me.
And I walk up and she's just standing there with her phone recording me.
I never posted that!
No.
You guys, I was so nervous. I woke up really early and I drove down because I wanted to get there before he went to work because he does sales, and so I was just gonna drive around with him while he worked. And I just showed up and I was so nervous that I was gonna get there after he left, and I couldn't message him because I was trying to surprise him. And so I got there like a minute before you woke up and he texted me good morning right as I parked, and I was like, great, he's still at home. But I was so nervous because we were still getting to know each other, and I had his address, but I'd never been to his house before, so I was just hoping I was ringing the right doorbell. I think my favorite memory was probably when we went to Disney. We've gone to Disney World twice together. Our first date was at Disney World, but then we went again in January just for fun, and we had a big trip with Disney, like a hosted trip back in June, which was so much fun.
Do you want to have kids?
Yes, of course.
How many?
7. How many do you want?
2.
I definitely want to, but I've always thought like if I have the means to provide for more, I would like to have more, like maybe 3 or 4. Honestly, 3 or 4 feels comfy to me, but I've also never had a child, so like ask me after I have one what that feels like because I'm not really sure.
Also, twins run in my family, so we're a little nervous
I
about
know. Well, oh my gosh, what if we had twins? Would you want 3 or 4 though?
that. Yeah, we had talked about 2, and then potentially feels on our hearts about adopting or something like that.
Yeah, I would love to have two and maybe adopt. Here's a good one. Are you guys waiting for marriage? We are. That was something we actually talked about, gosh, week 1 of dating. And for me too, he's the same way, but that's really important to us. And so that was one of the first things we needed to figure out is like, hey, where are you at with this? Because everybody has their own perspective on this, which is fine. But us personally, we've decided to wait for that just because it's such a beautiful thing. God designed it to be within the context of marriage. And I think that's really beautiful. And so when we had that conversation from the get-go, that one helped me feel really safe in this relationship and that I could trust him. But it also led to other really healthy conversations where we were able to talk about our boundaries. And I think it's super healthy to continue to revisit those conversations and just make sure you guys are on the same page. I'm not gonna sit here and say that we're perfect, but it's hard. And so navigating that and having people in your life that can hold you accountable, whether that's friends of yours or mentors, I think it's a really good thing, but you have to fight for your purity. So I'm really thankful for you for leading in that because it's tough. We're very excited. Well, this one goes along with what we just were talking about. How do you guys travel together but still respect boundaries? By the way, love you guys. That's so sweet. We love you too. Communication. I mean, both of us from the get-go, we communicated what our boundaries were. And so we travel really well together because both of us respect those boundaries. And I think that's super important if that's something that you're waiting for marriage for. For Chandler, when did you know you wanted to ask Nicole to marry you? Ooh, I like this one. I don't even know that I know this answer.
I think after our first big international trip, because I've never been out of the country.
Yeah, when we went to Egypt, y'all, that was his first time out of the country. You did good.
So experiencing that with her and seeing like how we travel, and I kind of got sick over there, so seeing her take care of me, and I realized that she wasn't in it for just experiences for herself, and that she was able to take care of me and kind of put things on hold and pause.
That's amazing. Your age difference. I just turned 28 and he just turned 27, so we're about a year apart. Do you like to make him smoothie bowls, and does he like them? Yes, I like to make him smoothie bowls. Do you like them?
Yes. I like all the peanut butter on top. What is that brand called?
Granola butter.
Yeah, and she's like, I never even get to try this myself. You just put it all over.
He puts so much granola butter on the smoothie bowls I make him. Y'all planning on a bigger upscale wedding or a smaller and intimate? Congrats. Thank you so much. Kind of in between. We have limited capacity with the venue that we picked, but we're really excited. We're gonna go all out. I can't wait. Ooh, this one's good. First impression of each other.
When I first met her, she was coming off a red eye from LA, so
literally off the airplane.
One, with dating apps, you never know what you're gonna get with.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, so when you stepped
what
out.
Was your first impression?
Dang, girl. I popped right out of my car, grabbed them bags real quick.
Is that it?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you were tall.
Same. My first impression, because like he said, you don't know what you're gonna get with dating apps. Sometimes guys and girls don't look like the photos that they post. A lot of times guys will lie about their height, and he's 6'4", so when it said 6'4" in his profile, I was like, there's no way he's 6'4". But when he got out of his car and I saw that he was tall, I was like, check. And you're super cute. So that to me was like, okay, at least I'm attracted to him. And I will say my first impression of you was that you were so quiet because you're more introverted than I am. And so I think probably that in combination with the nerves of it being a first date, you were so much quieter than I expected. And it threw me off because we had talked already for a week leading up to our first date and you were so chatty over the phone. So I was like, wait a second, he's so quiet. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Because we just had breakfast and then went to Disney Springs for a little bit and then I left. I remember you tell people, you were like, I don't even know if this went well because he didn't say much. And then right when I got out on the road,
I thought he didn't like the date. Like I was like, he's gonna ghost me and never talk to me again. Like that's why he was so quiet. He thinks I'm crazy.
10 minutes down the road, I texted you. I was like, that was so much fun. I can't wait to see you again.
Right when he dropped me off, I got a text that said, had the best time ever. Can't wait to see you again. So glad you opened up a little bit. This next one is, what's your occupation? I obviously do YouTube and content creation full time. Why don't you tell the crowd? Why don't you tell our friends what you do full time?
I do pharmaceutical sales, so I sell cough, cold, and prenatal vitamins. So I cover like all of North Alabama. So I'm in and out of urgent cares, pediatrics, family practices, and then OBGYNs on the daily.
This one's good. How long had you been dating before discussed wanting to get married to each other? We talked about it pretty early on. I would say like 3 or 4 months in, which seems quick, but honestly, if you're in a place in your life where you're both wanting to get married, I think that's a question that needs to be asked early on. If the other person doesn't see marriage in sight, like in the direction that you're headed, then it's like, what's the point of dating, I think? I'm 28, he's 27. We're not trying to waste our time. And so if like either one of us wasn't looking to get married, it's like, this probably isn't a good fit. And so that was something we talked about earlier on, is like, hey, not like, do you want to marry me, but is this on your radar? And we both were in that place in life where that's what we wanted. And I think that really helped move the process along because we were dating with intentionality, not using that to put pressure on the situation, but like, hey, this is kind of where I see this going. And so that then helped guide how we approach dating.
Well, in regards to all that, I know that when we kind of started discussing marriage, we both had bought a book that kind of goes through different questions. It's like 10 different categories for asking those hard questions. And it wasn't like a book of if this person is compatible with you or not. It was just making sure that y'all have talked about these things.
Yeah, our mentors recommended it to us and it was super helpful. If I can find a link to it, I'll put it down in the description box below. But for some of those like more awkward conversations, even just with like about how much money do you make, things that are important to know, it has prompts that like help start those conversations that made it easier for us to talk about things that maybe we wouldn't have addressed otherwise. And that book was really helpful.
Yeah.
Ooh, this one's kind of deep too. How did you talk about the future while living in the moment and not putting pressure? We didn't talk about it all the time, but once we both knew we were on the same page about like where this was headed, I think we just tried to be really intentional in our own individual relationships with the Lord, praying about that and asking for peace and direction and clarity, and then checking in with each other. Like we communicate really well, and we've had a lot of conversations over the last 8 months about like, hey, okay, how are you feeling now? That's how I navigated like thinking futuristically, but also staying present in the moment and just being transparent with him. Like if it was ever overwhelming me, I'd be like, hey, I just need to live in the moment right now. Like not talk about it because I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I think it is a little bit different for you though, because you were like ready before me almost in a way. Like I definitely wanted to marry you, but you were there a lot quicker than me and just like, excited about everything. And so I think I was always asking for more patience and grace because you're my first official boyfriend, and I honestly was just loving the season of being a girlfriend.
Yeah, that was the tricky part at the beginning. Is like I've dated before and been in long relationships. Nicole, this is her first time navigating that kind of stuff. So with me dating with intentionality from the beginning, like I knew the things I was looking for, the things that I wanted, and I kind of felt like I was moving a little bit faster than Nicole. So being patient with her feelings and expressing those feelings, like I expressed early on how I felt, sharing my emotions, and she was a little bit more reserved. Now that we're at this place now, I feel like it's a lot more easy to communicate that kind of stuff and be open and share stuff, but also making sure, she tells me, make sure you're living where your feet are.
Yeah, that's hard though. Like just being present and being where your feet are in the moment is such a gift, because once you're engaged, you're a fiance and you never get to be a girlfriend or boyfriend again. So if you're dating, just enjoy that season and continue to get to know each other. And yeah, obviously talk about the future if that's where you see that headed, but don't miss out on the sweet season of what it looks like to be dating. And same with engagement. Like I'm really trying hard to enjoy the season of engagement and not get too focused on being a wife, because I'm not a wife yet, but I know that it'll be so sweet when we do get to the wedding day and then we become husband and wife. Like that season is going to be so sweet. So much easier said than done, but I just want to encourage you to try to live in the moment and be present as much as possible. I feel like I saw a question here that I wanted to answer and I can't find it because y'all submitted so many questions about what your biggest piece of advice is for dating. I personally would say communication. Communication is the most important thing. You can avoid a lot of conflict and you can get through pretty much anything if you both are willing to talk about it and communicate with patience and calmness, like being able to control your temper and just be mature about communicating. I mean, conflicts are going to happen. We've had arguments, we've had disagreements, but that doesn't mean that something's wrong with your relationship. If you both can calmly communicate, I think that's the recipe for success. And then obviously keeping the Lord at the center of it, that's the foundation.
From the guy's perspective, dating with intentionality, I know I've dated in the past and kind of been very complacent and comfortable, and that's caused a lot of issues, especially on a woman's side. You can tell when a guy's dating with intentionality or if he's just kind of hit or miss and being wishy-washy. If a guy wants to pursue you and a guy wants to be with you, he'll put in the effort no matter how hard it is. I mean, we have 100%. Plenty of stories of things that I've done to show that.
Chandler could write a book about dating with intentionality. Literally, if you're a guy watching this, like hit Chandler up, because he set such a good example of how to put in the work and make somebody feel valued and loved and pursued. And you continue to do that, even though now there's a ring. I'm like, are you crying? Chandler's crying. Oh my gosh, are you okay?
I'm reliving all our memes.
This man is so sweet. You're gonna make me cry. He is so just like a big old teddy bear, and I really am so thankful for you, Chandler. I'm so excited to marry you and be your wife. Stop, you're gonna make me cry. Really, you do set such a good example, and I want to honor you for how you've pursued me, because I've never been pursued like that in my whole life, and I get to marry you, which is just the icing on the cake. When a guy wants to pursue you, he'll put in the effort. And so any girls watching this who are maybe feeling lonely or sad that you haven't found your person yet, or you've never had a boyfriend. I had never had a boyfriend, and I'm 28 years old. And so just have hope and be encouraged that you are worth waiting for. If you are worth dying for, you are worth waiting for. And so do not settle, do not compromise. You are special and you deserve that person and you deserve to be pursued. And so thank you, Chandler, for setting such a good example and being so sweet. Y'all, we love you so much. I know this was a longer video, but thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, we really are thankful for this community and we can't wait to continue to do life together. So before we go, please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment. We love hearing from you and we want to say hi. But until then, we'll see you next week. Bye.